Every single year as we head into Chicago Bears training camp, there are two words that instantly fire up debates, predictions, an endless speculation, roster bubble. It's become a rite of passage for fans, analysts, and anyone who follows this team, and once again here we are diving headfirst into the thick of it. But this time around we're putting a little spin on the classic approach. Instead of just rattling off names or ranking battles by position, we're doing a full breakdown of all 91 players on the current roster, slotting each one into one of 4 categories, based on their chances to make the final 53-man team. That's right, the Bears actually have 91 players at this point in the offseason. Why 91 and not 90? Simple, thanks to the international exemption rule. They're allowed one extra player during this phase. That spot belongs to punter Tory Taylor. Now keep in mind, when the final cutdowns happen and teams trim down to the official roster, he'll still count toward the 53 if he makes it, but for now, they get that one extra look. Now here's how I'm breaking it all down for tiers. First, we've got the locks. These are guys that, barring something absolutely wild like a legal issue or freak injury, are guaranteed to make the roster. No scenario exists where they're just outright cut. Then we've got the safe group. These are players who are very likely to make the team. It'd be a real surprise if they didn't, but technically they're not uncuttable. Then there's the bubble. These are the guys whose future hangs in the balance. Every rep matters. Every practice could swing things. These are players fighting for the last few spots. And finally, the long shots. These are the players who frankly have a steep hill to climb. Some might sneak onto the practice squad. Others, unless they absolutely shine in camp or benefit from injuries, probably won't make it to week 1. All right, let's start at the top, the locks. I've got 28 players in this category. That's already over half the roster spots locked down. Starting at quarterback, Caleb Williams. No surprise here, he's the #1 overall pick, the face of the franchise now. He's the unquestioned QB1, and there's absolutely no chance he's not on this team when the season kicks off. I didn't include any other quarterbacks as locks though. Tyson Bagent and Case Keenum, they're more in the safe category. There's a chance, even if slim, that one of them could get cut, depending on how camp goes. Running back, the only true lock right now is DeAndre Swift. Yes, he's new, but he's a featured back with legit talent and experience. Beyond him, things are still up in the air. Rookies, returning players, all of them have questions attached. Take Kyle Maningay for instance. He was a 7th-round pick, which always brings some uncertainty. And the depth chart still feels fluid. At wide receiver, I've got 3 stone-cold locks: DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and Luther Burden. No matter how the preseason plays out, those 3 are not going anywhere. They're the top of the depth chart, and the offense is going to be designed around their abilities. Moving to tight ends, Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland are your guys. Again, no surprises. They're part of the core and will be counted on heavily in both blocking and passing situations. On the offensive line, there's a lot more clarity now. Joe Thuney, Jonah Jackson, and Drew Dalman, your new interior trio, are all locked in. Darnell Wright, a returning first-rounder, is not going anywhere. And Azzy Trapilo, even if he doesn't start right away, was a 2nd-round pick. He's on this roster, no doubt about it. Braxton Jones is another one. Could he potentially be traded? Sure, I suppose it's possible in some wild alternate scenario. But he's not getting cut, even if he starts the season on the physically unable to perform list or short-term injured reserve. He's not going to be one of the guys handed a pink slip in August. Then you've got the defensive front. Montez Sweat, Deo Odeyingbo, both locked in because of their contracts and expected contributions. Grady Jarrett, Jervin Dexter, Shamar Turner, yep, all locks. And Drew Billings was a slight debate for me, but I ultimately put him in the lock group. He brings too much veteran stability and rotational value to be considered expendable. At linebacker, TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds are absolute no-brainers. Then there's rookie 4th-rounder Rook Orhoro, given the Bears' thin depth at linebacker and the front office's praise of him, I believe he's as safe as they come. At corner, Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon are the 2 I'm locking in. No question marks there. Safety, Kevin Byard and Yaquin Brisker are as locked in as you can get. Brisker especially is a rising star, and unless he gets hurt, he's playing a major role. And let's not forget special teams. Cairo Santos is your kicker and Tory Taylor is your punter. Both are locks. One note though, I didn't list a long snapper as a lock. That spot is still up for grabs and could come down to chemistry with the new punter. So that's 28 players who in my view are already on the team. That means more than half of the final 53 is likely set before training camp even begins. Of course, things can still change. Injuries happen. Performance dips. But right now, these are the sure things. Now let's move to the safe category. These are players I fully expect to make the roster, but there's just enough uncertainty that I can't quite call them locks. Starting with the quarterback room again, Tyson Bagent and Case Keenum. The Bears want to carry 3 quarterbacks this year, and both of these guys bring something to the table. Keenum brings that veteran presence they lacked last season. Bagent, younger and with upside, has shown flashes. If one completely flops in camp, maybe there's a surprise, but as of now they both look safe. Travis Homer is another one. Special teams coach Richard Hightower loves this guy, and that matters a lot. Coaches fight for their guys, and Homer does the dirty work most fans don't see. I also put Kyle Manningham in this group even though he's a rookie. Based on the current depth chart and what the Bears seem to want to do with the run game, he looks like someone they plan to develop. Olamide Zacchaeus, he's one of those soft locks very likely to make it unless something crazy happens. Same goes for tight end Durham Smythe. The familiarity with offensive coordinator Ben Johnson gives him a leg up. And while there's some buzz about Joel Wilson, I don't think it's enough to knock Smythe off the roster just yet. Braxton's backup Larry Brome is basically a lock, but because of the depth and competition at tackle, I kept him in the safe category. If everyone's healthy, he might be 4th in line. Still, he was a 3rd-round pick, and while it's a new coaching staff, he's probably not going anywhere. Ryan Bates is another name here. His health is a concern, shoulder issues and a concussion history, but if he's cleared, he's arguably your top interior backup. If not, he might not even be on the team. Austin Booker, the edge rusher, didn't make a ton of noise in the spring, but I think he's done enough to be considered safe, at least for now. Same for Amen Adbong-Bamiga, a solid special teams contributor. And again, one of those guys Hightower trusts. In the secondary, Tyreek Stevenson and Terrell Smith are safe. It's not inconceivable that one of them could be on the chopping block if someone like rookie Zay Frazier absolutely explodes in camp, but the odds are in their favor. Josh Blackwell is another player I think is just shy of lock status. He's a strong special teams asset and gives depth at corner. Zay Frazier himself I've put in the safe group. 5th-round picks can get cut, it happens every year, but based on what we've seen and heard so far, he seems like someone they want to develop. Safety Elijah Hicks also lands in this category. And finally, Scott Daly at long snapper. He's the incumbent, and he worked with Torrey Taylor at Iowa, which gives him an edge. Still, since there's another long snapper in camp, the job isn't 100% his. So that brings us to 4 players, 28 locks, and 16 safe picks. Which means if those evaluations hold up, there are only 9 spots left on the 5th 3-man roster. And this is where it gets fun, chaotic, and ultra-competitive, the roster bubble. 20 players, 9 spots. Every single snap, every drill, every special teams rep matters. These are the guys who'll be fighting tooth and nail to prove they belong. Before we dive into that group, though, take a moment and really let this all sink in. 4 names are pretty much penciled in already. That's over 80% of the final roster if you include a couple more that are borderline safe. So now the pressure really ramps up for the rest of the group. One bad day in pads, one missed assignment, one injury, and a player on the bubble could find himself on the outside looking in, but the opposite is true too. One explosive practice, one big preseason game, and suddenly a guy nobody was talking about becomes the new fan favorite to make the team. And that's what makes this time of year so fascinating. Because while the top of the roster might be mostly set, the bottom half is where the real drama lives. And the next few weeks, they're going to be absolutely critical for those 20 players on the bubble. So let's talk about the 20 guys living on that razor's edge, the bubble. These are the players who will walk into training camp knowing every single day matters, and that any slip-up could be the one that knocks them off the roster. It's not just about talent at this point, it's about fit, special teams, value, availability, and momentum. For these guys, the countdown is real. We start in the running back room, where Roshan Johnson and Ian Wheeler are battling it out. Roshan is the more familiar name entering his 3rd year. But here's the catch, he's coming off a rough season, didn't show the burst many were hoping for. And now he's with a coaching staff that didn't draft him. Meanwhile, Kyle Manningham was just picked up and fits more cleanly into the new offensive vision. If the Bears decide to carry only 3 running backs, it's very possible that either Roshan or Wheeler gets squeezed out. I still think Roshan has the edge, but he's absolutely on the bubble. Then there's the wide receiver logjam. Devin Duvernay, Tyler Scott, and Miles Boykin are all jockeying for limited spots. If the team only keeps 6 receivers and the top 3 are locked, and that leaves very little room for error. Keep to cut one, that's a real possibility. Duvernay brings experience and return skills, Scott brings speed and upside, Boykin brings size. and blocking ability. It could come down to who stands out on special teams or who shows the best chemistry. With Caleb Williams in camp, Joel Wilson, the tight end, is another intriguing name. When your head coach singles you out as someone whose impressed, you get bumped into bubble territory, no doubt. With Ben Johnson potentially running a lot of tight end sets, there's a chance they keep for tight ends this year instead of the usual 3. That would give Wilson a real shot to stick, especially if he shows he can contribute in the red zone or as a blocker. Now let's talk about Doug Kramer. He's a center by trade, but has also played fullback in certain packages. That versatility gives him a puncher's chance. But if the coaching staff feels confident in rookie Luke Newman as the backup center, Kramer might be the odd man out unless they really want that fullback wrinkle in their offense. It's a close call. Bill Murray, no, not the actor, the offensive lineman, is still hanging around. He showed some promise last season before getting hurt. The problem is his spot might hinge entirely on whether Ryan Bates is healthy. If Bates is good to go, Murray probably doesn't make it. If not, Murray could slide in as the backup guard. On the defensive line, Dominique Robinson has moved himself up to the bubble. With a solid showing in OTA letters and minicamp, I was ready to write him off as a long shot, but he's benefited from a relatively thin edge group. Same goes for Daniel Hardy, who may not be the best scheme fit under Dennis Allen's defense, but he's been solid on special teams and offers position flexibility. If he can show that he can drop into coverage or play some linebacker in a pinch, that versatility could save his spot. Chris Williams is a name flying under the radar, but he's likely sitting as the 4th or 5th defensive tackle right now. That's a dangerous place to be because it's a crowded room with more recognizable names. Jonathan Ford and Zach Pickens are in the same boat. I really wanted to move Pickens into the long shot category because despite being a 3rd round pick 2 years ago, he hasn't done much to stand out. But draft capital still matters, and if he flashes in camp, the front office might want to give him one more shot. Noah Sewell is another one teetering. Big year for him entering season 3. He's had flashes, but consistency and scheme fit are still concerns. It's pewter per packet time for him. Nashan Wright, recently brought in, is one of the most interesting names on the bubble. He has history with Al Harris from their time in Dallas, and his size and length fit what this coaching staff wants at corner. If he can stick to receivers and press coverage, he's got a real shot. Nick Morrow is a seasoned veteran with a ton of experience and some special teams ability. That makes him valuable, but age, salary, and younger players breathing down his neck mean he can't afford any missteps. Same goes for Jonathan Owens. Right now, he's probably the 4th safety, but with the top 4 safeties on expiring contracts, the Bears could decide to go younger and cheaper if someone like UDFA Major Burns impresses. Plus, cutting Owens would free up a little cap space, which is always tempting. And finally, there's Tarvarius Moore. He bounced between the practice squad and active roster all last year. And while he didn't do anything to really wow anyone, the fact that he's still hanging around shows the Bears think he's got something worth evaluating. He's definitely got a chance to stick if he outperforms the younger guys. So that's your bubble, 20 players fighting for what might be only 9 open roster spots. Maybe 10 depending on injuries or roster manipulation. But no matter how you slice it, the odds aren't in their favor. They'll need to stand out, stay healthy, and show coaches something extra. Whether that's special teams dominance, versatility, or flat-out playmaking. One big play in a preseason game could be the difference between staying in Chicago or hitting the waiver wire. Now let's shift to the long shots. These are the guys who honestly are probably playing for a practice squad spot, or even just a chance to catch on elsewhere. First up, quarterback Austin Reed. If Caleb Bajan and Keenum are all healthy, there's just no room. Best case scenario, he lands on the practice squad. He's got traits, but this isn't his year. At running back, Deion Hankins is buried. He's a physical back, could be a decent short yardage option, but it's a crowded room. Wideouts like J.P. Richardson and Jaden Walker have a little more juice. Richardson had a strong undrafted free agent period, and Walker brings size that this team lacks behind O'Dunn's. If either one shines in camp, they could sneak into the bubble conversation. John Jackson, he's not making the 53, but let's be honest, he's Caleb's best friend. The Bears will keep him around on the practice squad to keep their QB1 happy. That's just smart business. Tight end Stephen Carlson looked like a possible depth piece early in the offseason, but Joel Wilson's rise has pushed him down. Jordan Murray is a long shot as well. He's just not shown enough yet to justify a spot. The offensive line has a handful of long shots. Chris Glazer and Ricky Stromberg are both interior guys. but they're buried. Josh Miles and Theo Benedette are at tackle, but they're going to need injuries or trades to open up a path. Jordan McFadden is more interesting. He's played guard and tackle and has been on active rosters before. If Ryan Bates is out and McFadden looks solid, he could steal that last Alini spot. On the edge, Xavier Carlton is a big physical presence, but undrafted pass rushers rarely make it. Same goes for Jeremy Croma and Jeremy Robinson, but hey, the Bears are thin at edge. That's the one ray of hope for these guys. Carl Jones, Swayze Bozeman, and Power Eccles are fighting uphill battles. At linebacker, they might be decent special teamers, but nothing jumps off the tape just yet. At corner, guys like Sean Wade and Jeremiah Walker just don't have a clear path. Wade's played real NFL snaps before, but this cornerback group is just too deep. Safety Tyree Johnson was close to being on the bubble, but I went with Tarvarius Moore instead. He's got a sliver of a chance. Alex Cook probably doesn't. Then there's kicker Jonathan Kim. Big leg, lots of raw power, but unless Cairo Santos collapses, he's not making the team. And lastly, long snapper Luke Ilkin. He worked with Torrey Taylor at Iowa, and chemistry at that position matters more than people realize. If it's close between him and Scott Daly, maybe Taylor gets a say. Still, odds are against Ilkin, so there you have it. 28 locks, 16 safe bets, 20 bubble players clawing for 9 spots, and 27 long shots praying for a miracle. That's 91 players all gunning for 53 jobs. The competition is going to be fierce, the margins rather thin, and the decisions brutal. Some careers will be launched, others will be left behind. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy, drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a development that's caught many NFL insiders off guard, murmurs are beginning to surface from league circles suggesting that the Chicago Bears may be quietly exploring trade options for tight end Cole Kmet. While no official word has emerged from Hollis Hall, whispers of a potential move have gained traction over the past few days, prompting questions about the direction of the Bears' roster strategy under head coach Matt Eberflus and GM Ryan Poles. Kmet, a homegrown talent drafted in the second round of the 2020 NFL Draft, has steadily developed into one of the more reliable pass-catching tight ends in the league. His chemistry with quarterback Caleb Williams, the Bears' prize No. 1 overall pick this year, was expected to be a foundational part of the offense moving forward. However, according to sources close to the situation, the front office is at least entertaining inquiries from teams interested in acquiring the Notre Dame product. This potential shift in plans could signal a broader reevaluation of Chicago's offensive identity, especially given the addition of dynamic rookie tight end prospect Jatavian Sanders and the emergence of multiple weaponized formations in recent mini-camp sessions. Kmet's contract, renewed just last year with a 4-year extension, still has significant value, both in cap terms and as a trade asset. While nothing is imminent, the very fact that Kmet's name is surfacing in trade discussions is enough to raise eyebrows around the league. Could the Bears be preparing a surprise move to bolster their defensive front or secondary depth in exchange, or is this a tactical smokescreen to gauge market interest ahead of training camp cuts? As it stands, fans and analysts alike are left parsing every clue, every press conference slip, and every roster move.